Well, Mike Griffith here along with Chip Towers, and they just finished practice number 8. It's the second half of spring drills already for Georgia football, Chip, and we just had the opportunity to talk to 3 offensive linemen. They all got out of the same elevator. I'm surprised the elevator didn't get stuck there in Butts-Mehre Heritage Hall. But tonight, Andrew Thomas, Outland Trophy Award candidate, Jamari Salyer, who Kirby says is the most improved player this spring. He's fighting for a starting job on the offensive line, and Solomon Kinley. 3 guys that I think Georgia was very proud to have represent, and probably not a coincidence they got sent up here today, Chip.
Well, it's always interesting. The guys that get sent up here are, hand-picked pretty much, and
right.
and so there's 1 of 3 things going on if those guys are sent up. 1, Kirby trusts them. 2, he's in their plans. Or 3, they're good talkers, right? And Jamari Salyer, first time we've had a chance to really talk to him since I think we got him a little bit in the postseason.
Right, after the SEC championship game.
But not until then. He was very relaxed today. He was very excited to do an interview. Be sure Griff is going to have something up on him later. He's going to have a watch video because sometimes it's hard to describe, but just the enthusiasm, genuine joy that young man is experiencing right now. And he feels good, and he has a lot of reason to feel good because not only is he getting hard looks in at right guard, but he's getting hard looks at center, hard looks at right tackle. Right. Sam Pittman's got plans to use this guy. We don't know right now where you're going to see him, but you're going to see number 69 on the field a lot this coming fall, and it was a good chance to talk to him and to Andrew, and Solomon Kinley's the same way. Solomon's he's quickly becoming one of my favorite guys to talk to because he's just I don't know if he's truly that joyful in his life, but he definitely fakes it well if he's not.
Yeah, he does come across well. And to be clear, we're not allowed to ask for players. Georgia decides who they send to talk to the media. A lot of other schools you get a chance, so we want to talk to as many different guys as we can, obviously, to give fans a better representation of what Georgia football is rather than the same guys over and over. But Jamari Salyer now knew the list last week. Isaiah Wilson, a guy who I thought was also very impressive. So
a lot of O-linemen so far, which kind of tells you a little something.
Well, it's the best. I think it's the best offensive line in the country. I don't think there's any question about that, Chip. You had a story up a little bit earlier, and I'll be interested to see what happens here. The sidebar has been some of the off-the-field distractions. It's a national story that Georgia's had 6 players arrested in 6 weeks. I know everybody in the Georgia fan base and in that football building is ready to put that behind them and move forward, Chip. You got to think, and I felt after asking Andrew Thomas about it today, I feel like the players are getting more involved in this now. It's almost like leadership is starting to emerge. The players are going, okay, hey, wait a minute. This is our brand. This is what we bleed for. You're messing it up. You did a story, though, that maybe some of these players could end up missing a game.
Yeah. Well, it's very expressly written in the UGA athletic policy. There's a student-athlete handbook that every player that's on scholarship, I think if you're on a roster, if you participate in a collegiate sport, you have to get that you are issued this student-athlete handbook. You have to sign it saying that you agree and submit to the terms therein. And it's pretty expressed. I looked it up today and went through and read it, and it's very expressly written right there under the substance abuse policy that a marijuana possession of an illegal substance is the way they put it, and marijuana is still illegal in the state of Georgia and on the UGA campus. They're subjected to a 10%, a first offense. It goes on, second offense, third offense, but a first offense, you're subjected to these things. And I listed all those. You can read them on Dog Nation. In addition to drug and alcohol awareness, it's you don't want to break this policy because you're subjected to a lot of stuff. But the most important one where Georgia fans are concerned is 10% suspension from, I forget the way it puts it, sport contest. In football, that's 12 games. That would break down, 10% would be 1.2 games. I've seen this policy enacted for years, and they've always interpreted it as a 1 game. Normally, that's not a big problem, except in this particular case that first game is going to be.
Now, that's my next question. Does it have to be the first game?
It does specify that in there. That's actually a good question. I didn't actually include that. So you get some. This is why Griff is a great reporter. I didn't include that in my report.
You'll go back and put it in.
I'm going to go back and put that in now. It does expressly say that it falls on the very next sanctioned athletic.
Well, maybe
contest.
they'll miss the G-Day. Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's sanctioned. That's what I said. He'll have to sit out the G-Day game. I don't know. Kirby does some pretty amazing things, but it seems pretty unwavering. Unfortunately, I didn't hear back from Greg McGarity, and we didn't get Kirby Smart today, so I didn't get independent verification from those two guys. But I mean, it's in black and white and pretty clear.
Well, it's some other news that's been coming about. You saw yesterday, Chip, that Georgia has added a home and home with Florida State, and now Georgia with 2021 trying to find an opponent. 2023, there's been some speculation that Oklahoma could be that team, but talking to Greg McGarity, he says there's two other teams that Georgia's having more serious talks with than Oklahoma. So I don't know who those teams are, but the fact that Georgia's aiming this high for non-conference Power 5 opponents says a lot about Kirby Smart, his confidence in the program, and also Kirby's vision. He sees in 10 years, I think Kirby believes, based on the scheduling model, that there could be an 18 playoff.
Yeah, no, I absolutely, I'm a believer in that needs to happen next in this. And I'll say this, and this is not to belittle anything that Kirby has done. I think Kirby is definitely at the forefront of this and is being a leader. Georgia's being a leader, as it always has been in most collegiate matters. But I think the scheduling model it has to happen naturally, because there's so much money coming into this game right now from the standpoint not just of television and SEC Network, but these donors that they're constantly hitting them up for more facilities and stadiums and everything else. And that comes with a cost. You better give them something for that. And what's happening in this day and age of so much TV, you're starting to see less and less attendance at games and less participation in these.
Kirby talked about that.
Yeah, and so you got to give them something, right? I mean, you got to reward these people that are donating literally millions upon millions of dollars every year to your program. You got to give them something for that. And that's not going over to Atlanta and playing somebody in a Chick-fil-A. All due respect to the Chick-fil-A Classic, I think that's a good thing to do every now and then, but I'd much rather see a home and home with Oregon than go over there and watch them play Oregon. And you're interested in talking about those other ones, and I don't know if this is one of them, but Penn State is another team that Georgia's been in long talks with.
Well, they had scheduled them, but when the coaching change happened, the new coach, Franklin, didn't want to play Georgia. Just the same thing at Ohio
long
State.
Talks with Penn
Urban
State.
Meyer didn't want to come to Athens.
Long talks with Michigan is another one that they've tried to get online for a long, long time.
So
I've personally always rooted for that Michigan one because Georgia historians will tell you one of the greatest games Georgia ever played at Ann Arbor in 1965. You talk about the crazy. Georgia goes up there and beats a Michigan team. Listen. I promise I was only a toddler then. I did not personally witness that one, but I do know this name, Preston Reitelhuber. Mr. Reitelhuber, we have not forgotten what you did in Ann Arbor, Michigan that day, and I would love to see him return.
Yeah, that's a cool stadium. That would be a cool home and home. And from what Mr. McGarity says, they are talking with teams more seriously than Oklahoma. Oklahoma's got some scheduling conflicts. Remember, Big 12, Big 10, they're a little bit more saddled with 9 conference games, whereas the SEC only plays 8. Now, Georgia's saddled with the Georgia Tech game, because that's a game you're traveling to every other year. And while they do constitute a Power 5 opponent,
strong opinion on that.
A lot of people on the outside say Georgia Tech. Right? I mean, would you rather play Boise State or Georgia Tech? Who has more sex appeal, right?
Yeah.
In some years, Georgia's played both, actually. But the point being that while that is a Power 5.
And you find out that Georgia's played a lot. I mean, compared to most people, Georgia plays a lot of non-conference Power 5s.
Greg McGarity's done a great job with the schedule for years. The fact that Kirby is in line with Greg is good. I mean, what you really want is you want an AD and a coach that work together. And one thing that's cool about McGarity is he recognizes that Kirby has visions, and Kirby's not just some coach with a whistle around his neck. I mean, this was an all-SEC academic guy that graduated with a business degree, who coached with Saban all those years. He's been around a lot of intelligence. He absorbs it, and Kirby has a lot of visions. And the cool thing is, Kirby's not afraid to put it out there. He's not afraid to be the guy in the room that says something different than everybody else. And I think this schedule model, Chip, is different than what we're seeing from a lot of other programs.
It's impressive, and it's fun to watch, and I just hope I can, live long enough to see all of them, because, nowadays it's like, you see it 28 and 29, 30 and 31, 32 and 33.
But these are this is the difference. These are signed contracts, whereas Ohio State and Penn State were memorandum of understanding.
That's a big difference,
So there's money involved. So Chip, let's wrap it up. We've gone 10 minutes. We're going to have plenty of copy up on dognation.com. You're going to want to check that out. And obviously Chip's got that story about the rules, and you definitely want to see the Jamari Salyer video. He's going to be an immediate fan favorite. So everybody have a great Thursday night.
Yeah. See